Nazmi Özünlü, and in this short explainer video by Fintelligence, we are going to be talking about dual-class shares. So, what do all these companies have in common? Ford, BAE Systems, the air defense company, Skechers, Facebook, Warren Buffett's legendary company Berkshire Hathaway, and more recently Deliveroo. Yes, all these companies have dual-class share structures. And Deliveroo, the meal delivery company that has been a lot in the news a lot, especially during the lockdown, has had an IPO back in April at a price of 390. And on the first day of trading, the share price collapsed to about 250. And as of June, the price has been pottering on around the same level. One of the reasons that has been suggested for this is the fact that Deliveroo has a dual-class share structure, which gives the founder enhanced voting rights. So what are these dual-class shares? Even though we call them dual-class shares are companies with two or potentially more classes of ordinary shares with different voting rights. Typically, there will be one class of privileged shares that will have enhanced voting rights, and those may be called anything. They may be called Founders shares or Class A or B or C shares, but the common theme is that these shares will give the owners of their owners a higher level of voting rights compared to the amount of capital that they have contributed to the company with the rest of the shareholders. Why do companies have them? The key reason is that the original founders or key investors in the company want to retain control. Another reason for having them is as a takeover defense. For example, if a particular group of early investors or founders have over 25% of the voting rights within a company, then no merger or takeover attempt can go through unless those people agree to that. And it could also be in order to prevent foreign ownership. Now, BAE Systems used to be a nationally owned defense manufacturer in the UK. When they went public, the Ministry of Defense retained one single share in the company, which came to be known as the golden share. And that golden share doesn't even have dividend rights, but it has the right to veto any decision made at general meetings of shareholders. And the reason for this was to prevent the BAE Systems company from falling into foreign hands, and also as a takeover defense. In China as well, there are several similar provisions for companies. Domestic shareholders own a different class of share compared to international investors. And again, that is to prevent what they consider to be strategically important companies to fall into foreign ownership. Are there any positives to having DCSs? Well, there may well be very legitimate reasons. I don't think anybody would argue very much about the Ministry of Defense's decision to retain the golden share in BAE Systems. But for the founders to retain control, there has to be a valid reason for this. Maybe, for example, a company like Tesla, where you got this founder with a big vision for the future, which involves massive expenditure on research and development, and shareholders can be very short-termist. And they may potentially seek shorter-term profits, shorter-term projects, and may not allow these innovative companies and their founders to execute their vision. And if these dual-class share structures were not possible, then many of these innovative companies would probably never go public, because they would say, well, shareholder intervention would prevent me from executing my long-term vision. Shareholders think only 6 months or 1 year ahead of time, but I'm thinking 5 or 10 years ahead. So those could be very good legitimate reasons for having these dual-class share structures. But there are, of course, disadvantages. What if founders still retain control a long time after they have executed their strategic visions, and maybe they have even run out of great ideas right now? Perhaps the founders don't even have much of a connection to the company anymore. They are no longer the CEO. Or in the case of Ford Motor Company, what if the original founder has long since gone, and these privileged class of shares now belong to the family trust, which is controlled, or the beneficiaries of whom are the founder's great-great-great-great-grandchildren? There may also be conflicts of interest. What is in the best interest of the privileged shareholders and what is in the best interest of the rest of the shareholders. It could also lead to a lot of bad governance practices like massive executive pay, privileges, private jets, and things like that for the privileged shareholders. And all this may potentially lead to the share prices of those companies with a dual class share being trading at a discount. So, in conclusion, can we say that dual class shares are good or bad? I don't think that is possible. Like all great questions in finance, there isn't a simple yes or no answer. There very well could be legitimate reasons, like what we have discussed before. But perhaps one middle solution, a middle of the road solution, is to have these dual class share structures, but not indefinitely. Perhaps with a time limit of 5 or 10 years, which would allow the founders to execute whatever their vision is, or potentially transaction-based limits so that these privileged shares can't be sold on to anybody else, or these privileged shares automatically convert into regular shares when the shareholders cease to be directly involved in the company, when they are no longer the CEO, for example. So this has been our short explainer video on DCS shares. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. There'll be many more to come. And if you like this video, please click on the like button. Thank you very much for watching.
Fintelligence, your partner for training and development.